A year after President Trump's victory in the US polls, has the US political landscape changed? Hello, I'm Nathan King, sitting in for Anna Naidu, and this is The Heat. Hello again. Yes, it's been a year. On November the 8th, 2016, Donald Trump won the election for the US presidency after a very unusual, controversial and polarizing campaign. He was criticized for widening America's political divide with his strong rhetoric. Let's talk to CGTN's Owen Fairclough in the newsroom. Owen, we've been covering this so long now, it feels like. Trump promised to bridge that divide at his election victory night and heal the wounds, but the country isn't there right now, right?
Nathan, it's official. The Pew Center, one of the most respected research organizations in the United States, just put out a little bit of research, some fresh research, saying that Americans are more divided than they've ever been. They disagree, Republicans and Democrats, about just about every aspect of American life you can imagine. They can't even agree on how the US is seen by the rest of the world, and many people outside of the US would say that America's reputation has taken something of a battering since Donald Trump was elected president, and the divisions that he's created. And yet, if you rewind 12 months ago to that night and that stunning election victory that Donald Trump masterminded, he promised to try and heal those divisions. Here's Donald Trump.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. We have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
Well, Nathan, according to that research that I mentioned, that hasn't happened. You and I both know that the US was polarized under President Obama, and before that, this is something that's been happening steadily over years and years, and yet Donald Trump had an opportunity to shape the national conversation here in the US and the political agenda in a way that Obama really didn't have and really didn't. Remember, Trump's Republicans are in control of the US Congress, and yet his own Republican Party is now split. It was moderate Republicans that helped sink Trump's efforts to try and repeal Obamacare, not once, but twice this year. And there's no sign yet of that wall that Donald Trump promised to build, which, if it divides Americans, will definitely divide Mexicans and Americans if it's ever built.
I remember that night like it was yesterday, Owen. I was there at the Hilton, quite an incredible moment in US history. But we've had elections in the past week or so held around the country, and we saw very different results, didn't we?
Absolutely, and particularly Virginia, often seen as a bellwether state. This was where Democrats, you can see there, once again, won the governorship in Virginia. This is seen as very much a bellwether state. It's a very diverse state here in the US. Lots of Hispanic voters, lots of rural voters who voted for Donald Trump. Not just Virginia as well, but New Jersey as well, where Democrats managed to put a governor into the state house. These are being seen as signs that just maybe Democrats can win big in congressional elections next year. If they can do that, if they can win the lower house, then the thinking goes that they can block much of Donald Trump's legislation in the same way that Republicans blocked much of Barack Obama's legislation. We're talking Virginia, Nathan, just a few firsts in these elections we saw around the United States last week. We have some pictures on the head. That's Danica Roem. She's the first transgender person elected to a state legislature in Virginia. After that, Ravi Bala, the first Sikh American mayor in New Jersey, and Melvin Carter, the first African-American mayor of St. Paul in Minnesota. The current US Congress remains predominantly white, but it is the most diverse ever, both racially and ethnically. Maybe a sign that even in this polarized country, Americans can bridge their divide. Nathan.
Nice to see some optimism at the end of your report there, Owen.